Okay, Sean, again, welcome.
Hello.
Great hearing you sing here in the studio at Countryland.
Thank you.
And it's good having you here.
Yes.
Although I think you want to talk first a little bit about being here just was hanging on a thread.
Hanging on a thread, yeah. Everything was all fine and dandy until earlier this week. And I was on Spain on a little mini R&R break, and I was playing a couple shows with a good friend of mine. I'm like, oh, life is fine, life is great. And then I got hit with a pretty bad illness that was, which I thought at first was not that bad, and then it progressively got worse, and I was not feeling well. And I finally ended up going to a couple doctors in Spain, and they both told me to seek medical attention immediately, and even potentially go back to the U.S. And then I was a little worried.
And so were we.
And yes, yeah. And you know, so I came out back here in Holland just like 2 days ago. And yesterday I was actually just at the hospital, and I wanted to say a big thanks to Tiemann and Johan for really, really pulling through. These guys were so kind. They gave me a ride to the hospital, to both doctor visits here in Holland, and even to the grocery store at the end when I realized I had no euros in my wallet. And I owe you guys money for that as well. And just a giant thank you from the bottom of my heart, guys. Thank you so much, because you really helped get me back on my feet. And I'm so glad I'm actually here to be able to play music today.
Well, I think I can say, talk for Tiemann and Johan, it's done with love.
Thank you.
It's good having you here.
Thank you.
Like I said in the introduction and at the beginning of the program, you've been touring and playing and recording, I guess, for about 16 years now.
Yeah.
All over the United States, and you've been in Europe more often. This is not the first time you're here.
Yes, this is, yeah.
Yeah, so you look still quite young, but you started quite young.
Yeah.
You started at the age of 11.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Well, my father was a single parent, and he was a musician, and I come from 3 generations of musicians, starting with my grandfather, Richard, who played with the Rat Pack, and then my father. And he, at the time, my father, Kevin, was trying to just keep 2 boys out of trouble. And so he kind of got us in the family band. It was called Sunset Jazz, and we played smooth jazz. And and I was the drummer for it, and it was great. It took us about 6 months of rehearsals, and it was like being in the Jacksons, definitely the first 6 months. But we started playing our first shows within this first 6 months, and that was it. By the time I was 12 and 13, I was playing in California's top country clubs as a 13-year-old.
They didn't let you really grow into it and develop. It was just right at it from the beginning.
Yeah, and you know, my dad, because he was a single parent, you know, music was always his living and stuff. And I love my dad very much, but he was definitely he was very disciplined. And he would always have a saying like, "Play like your life depends on it, because it does."
Yeah, well, there's some truth in that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How come you started with drums? Was that something that you wanted, or did he propose that for you to do that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, according to my dad, I've always had a good natural sense of rhythm, and he contributes that to just very quickly his theory that when I was a baby, he would play perfectly timed rhythms on my stomach, and he thinks that probably helped contribute to at least that kind of percussive way of playing and stuff. And it just kind of just clicked in. And so as soon as I had a couple sticks in my hand, I was drumming away, and people thought at first I was a drum machine, that's a great compliment, you know, especially when you're 11 years old. And I would have a lot of players coming up to me, complimenting me. And one time even the percussion player from Santana complimenting on my drumming when I was like 15 years old. And I was like, wow, all right, well, maybe I'm doing something right.
Yeah, okay. So you were 11 when you started? Your brother, was he older or younger?
He's older. He's almost 4 years older.
Okay.
Yeah, and he did keyboard, bass, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how did the audience pick up on that?
They loved it. At first, it was a little iffy. You know, club owners, of course, are a little weary when they see a couple kids walking in and they're paying someone a couple $100, and they see a man and 2 kids. They think, oh, here we go. Here's a sideshow. But we always would blow them out of the water, and it didn't take long for our reputation to really explode. And then after that, we're on front pages of the biggest newspapers in California after that, and it was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Just before we ask you to sing another song this hour, pick up your grandfather again. He was in the Las Vegas Rat Pack. Now that is a famous group of a group of famous people. Just tell us, in short, what is the Rat Pack for those who don't know?
The Rat Pack is the infamous group of Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. You also had, who was the funny guy? Jerry Lewis, right?
Jerry Lewis was there. Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr. You know, talk like this. You know, that was Sammy. You know, and my grandfather would play with them during the heydays in Vegas because they had a lot of residencies. That was when Vegas was owned not just by the hotels, and. There was just a super group back then. It was one of the first big band super groups. And, I mean, when you have those legendary players all together, you always had a great show, you know.
And how was your grandfather involved in that? What was his role within the group?
He was a trumpet player.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he already played the trumpet before that?
He'd play the trumpet, yeah.
Quite a diverse musical family that you come from.
Yeah.
Okay.